So two quick apologies. First, the PDF has broken the slide slightly, and secondly, I sound like a Tunes advert, and there's nothing I can do about that, I'm afraid. So we're basically, we won a tender to go and help Ofcom do some research on SDN. As everybody knows, SDN is a marketing man's dream at the moment. The IETF has described it in one of their drafts as the latest shiny thing in networking, and this has caused Ofcom some interest. And what they are trying to understand is what it means for carriers. Is the world suddenly going to change? Is everything that they know just going to be thrown away? I think we know the answer to that. But they're looking for some sort of concrete views on where SDN is going from a carrier, what NFV means, and as part of this, we are looking for any input in terms of feedback or views that the carrier or the SDN vendor community or SDN users who want to have clever applications running over the top of the networks are actually prepared to share with us, which I realise may be nothing, but I think I'd be remiss not to ask. So rather than just saying, oh yeah, we want to know something about SDN, I thought I'd share very briefly some of our thoughts on what this looks like from a carrier perspective. I think SDN's a series of use cases, and I think that's what we think has happened. There's the SDN orchestration piece, which is where it's really cutting it in the data center. So in the data center environment, it's all beautifully established, mature technology, and this is kind of driven by the desire from the operators to reduce costs. And the sort of applications that Rob was talking about with his traffic engineering is an example of the sort of process where an SDN type technology will reduce the amount of work, effort and configuration that a network operator has to do. The next kind of piece is service APIs. So another SDN use case is the idea that you'll have application-centric APIs, allowing the application sitting on top of the network to know more about what's going on in the network and to potentially use that to control how it accesses the network. I've seen some interesting use cases around there to do with multicast enablement in mobile networks. So if you can work out that you have an opportunity to use the multicast broadcast service, you can communicate that to the end device, or you can communicate that to the applications can communicate that to the devices. Conceivably, you can make multicast easy to consume. There's also applications around virtual CPU, which is another area where we think the carrier piece is going. That's both enterprise and broadband. Another area which kind of it touches on is Cloud RAN. It exploits virtualization. The problem with Cloud RAN is, in theory, it's a fantastic solution to increase the spectral efficiency of your network, reduce your costs. China Mobile have done some fantastic studies on it. The problem is it needs an awful lot of fibre infrastructure. And in some cities that's possibly possible, in others it might not be. But it's kind of an application for virtualization because you'll have effectively Cloud RAN hostels, and then you'll have the ability to run more and more computing power in those hostels, limited by the CIPRI interface range. There's a lot of people talk about replacing this IP networking with an SDN solution. No. The core network and NNI is BGP because it's got years and years of experience and lots of bright people have worked on it. And I have seen sort of marketing people preach how this is all going to change, and I don't think so. From a regulation perspective, I think SDN's probably more of the same. I think perhaps when you get into the area of net neutrality, then you get into the world of making sure that you have wholesale operators offering equal access to everybody who wants to use the service. Okay. So the next point I'd like to make about timescales, and these are initial thoughts, it's just a thought that as you look at the situation at the moment, you see SDN well established in the data center. You see all sorts of interesting vendor SDKs. Juniper and Cisco have nice SDKs to enable you to do clever things and write code to program your equipment. And you're starting to see networks looking very SDN-like. Deutsche Telekom have got a case study in Eastern Europe. So beyond that, you start to say, well, what's really going to happen? You're going to see it pushing into the OSS, we think. You're going to see new networks start to become SDN-centric. Where you have a green field, it's going to be easier. You're going to have all sorts of problems if you're trying to move your big OSS to an SDN solution overnight. And I don't really think that you're going to see some of the more complex scenarios happen really quickly. So, for example, the use cases around multicast, very interesting. The problem with it is, for all the reason that Bob put up, is that you have a very complicated ecosystem and everyone's going to have to agree how to do it. And if you look at SDN standardization today, it is fragmented and it is in the very early stages. You have the ONF, you have the IETF with the I2RS work, you have ETSI with their NFV work. It's a complex system, it's got architectural issues, and I don't think that you're instantly going to see everything get solved. So we think maybe 5 years out for when you look at the more complex multi-domain applications. CRAN is very interesting as well. I think in the UK, CRAN is all about that fibre infrastructure. Okay, so again, I apologise for the shredded slide. I'll fix it and upload it. So really, this is just a request for feedback. We have a paper, if anyone wants to get in touch. It's just a couple of pages which summarises this, sets out any questions, just as a thought-provoking process. I'd say please get in touch if you've got any interest and are prepared to share any views on this. I've said here that ideally we'd like to get this all sorted out by the middle of February, but reality is we're happy to go sort of end of February if that's what it takes. I really will take feedback in any form, written, email, conversation, telephone call. If you've got any questions for Ofcom about the work they're doing, why they're doing it, and what other stuff they're doing in SDN and NFV, then if you talk to Robindra, he will be more than happy to answer your questions, I'm assured. So that's really all I have to say. So I'm around for the rest of the day. If anyone's got any questions or if anyone's got any views they'd like to share, please do. Okay, thank you very much for your time, and thank you, Keith, for letting me present.